Okay, a very good morning, Level 7A, and welcome back to our online learning program. How are you all doing this morning? Right, I'm doing good, thank you. Good. I hope you're all doing very well. And have you done your homework? Well, I hope so too, because it's very important to do your homework, okay? All right, so what day are we on today? That's right, today we're on Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020. So another week, September is going to be over, right? Good. Have you all eaten your breakfast? Excellent, good. That's excellent. All right, so for session 1 today, we're going to be looking at blueprint 2. For today's class, we're going to be still continuing grammars with should and have got to. Okay, so for today's lesson. But before we go to our today's lesson, let's do a quick previous lesson review on what we've done so far. Do you remember what we've done so far in our blueprint 2? That's right, so far we've done preposition of locations, right? So we use the vocabulary such as under, in front of, next to, behind, around, inside, outside, between something and something, the opposite on the right or left of, and across from something. Okay, so preposition of location is just basically telling you where places are. So for example, my books is under the table, or I live in front of my grandmother's house. I live next to the supermarket. I live behind a garage station. I live around the corner from my mother's house. Okay, so inside my house there are 3 bedrooms. Outside my house there's a big garden. I live between the shop and the food court. Okay, so I live opposite. Opposite means so don't get confused opposite and in front of. Okay. So opposite of my mom's house, I live on the left of the shop. I live on the right of a football court. I live across from my great-grandparents' house. Okay, so these are the preposition of location, telling you where places are. All right, I'm not going to go too long with that because otherwise it's going to waste our time. All right, so for today's class, we're going to be looking at grammars with should and have got to. Now you're going to say, oh teacher, grammar every day. This one is just to help you with getting you started and bringing you back memory, reminding you again what grammar is all about. Sometimes I know most of you haven't looked back in your books yet. I know that. So this can help, okay? So it also helps you to prepare for your final exam that should be coming very, very soon. Okay, so this is very, very important. That's why I've been doing recap and reviewings with grammar sessions with all the subjects. Okay, so with blueprint, speaking tutor 1A, and also writing bright 1 as well. All right. Okay, so let's first have a look at should. Now, should is a modal verb most commonly used to make recommendations or give advice. It also can be used to express obligation as well as expectation. Okay, so now let's have a look at the example sentence of which one is a recommendation, advice, obligation, or expectation. Examples. When you go to Berlin, you should visit the places in Potsdam. Okay, so that is recommendation. Recommendation is something that you may suggest people to do something. Okay, so I recommend that that you should visit Angkor Wat when you have time in Siem Reap. Okay, that's a recommendation. So suggestions. Now, the second one, you should focus more on your family and less on work. What does that mean, really? Right, so that is an advice. Advice is meant to tell you maybe you should think about focusing more on your family and less work. So something that you should think about. Maybe you take it or you leave it if you think that is a good thing. So that's an advice. Number 3, I really should be in the office by 7 a.m. So that is an obligation. Now an obligation is a must. You have to do it. Okay, so you need to be in the office by 7 a.m. I should be in the office by 7 a.m. That is an obligation. Obligation, it's something you have to do. It's a must. All right. Example number 4. by now they should already be in Dubai. That's an expectation. Expectation, it means something that it has to be done. Okay, so it's not an obligation, it's not a recommendation, it's not an advice. You have to do it. So it's something, for example, you have to be already in Dubai, okay? We have to be in Siem Reap by now. It's an expectation. So if you're waiting for someone to come over, either by plane or by road traveling, you are expecting they should be here by now, okay? So that's an expectation of using should. See, now there are 4 examples, as I said before, when using should. So recommendation, advice, obligation, and expectations, okay? So these are the 4 examples of should. All right? Good. Now let's move on to how we use have got to. Now have got to is divided into 2. We have an obligation, so have got to is used to refer to obligations which come from outside the speaker, okay? For example, you've got to drive more slowly. We're in a 30 miles an hour per zone. The next example, I've got to pay extra rent now because my friend has left the apartment. So that is an obligation. It's something that you have to do, okay? So the example says clearly, you've got to drive more slowly. So it's an obligation. It's a must that you must drive more slowly. It's a must now that I have to pay extra rent because my friend has left the apartment. Okay? Then the other one is a spoken English one. Alright? So in the spoken English one, we have in speaking, have got to is more common than have to when talking about obligation. Alright? So it means that what? It means that it's more common. Alright? So let's look at the example. A. Let's clean this kitchen. B. Oh, we've just got to try to clean it a bit more. A. Yes, at least once a week. It needs a good clean. So it's more common when than have to when we talk about obligations. Okay, so it means that cleaning up the kitchen is not an obligation, but it's something that you should do even at least once a week. So you are obliged to do it, but not necessary. It's an order to do it. Okay, so that is obligation in spoken as we use have got. All right, good. Okay, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me at any time during this class. All right, so now we have the obligation. Okay, we have got to using with obligations. All right, in both obligations and spoken English. And then we also have should. We use it as recommendations, advice, obligation, or as expectation. Okay, good. All right, so don't go away. That's all for session 1. Stay tuned for session 2. Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Let's go.
Okay, welcome back to session 2. Now for session 2 today, we're going to be looking at writing bright 1. Now do you remember about writing bright 1? Well, it's been a long time since we had writing bright 1, right? So for today's class in writing bright 1, we're going to be looking at grammars, again, adverbs of frequency. But before we go there, let's do a quick previous lesson review on what we've done so far. Do you remember what we've done so far in our Writing Bright 1? That's right, so far we did grammar review based on simple be present basic, right? So what's a be simple present basic? We did the understanding, we did some examples of be present basic as well. Okay, so be simple present basic. Be simple present is the most basic verb in English type sentences. So after the be, you can use the noun or pronoun, an adjective, or a prepositional phrase. Okay, so for example here, my father is a writer, so we have a be plus a noun. Is a writer. My father is busy, so we have a be and an adjective. My father is in the room. We have a be and a prepositional phrase. Okay, so that's how we use be simple present basic. Okay, I hope that you've already done that and you understand the basic, and I'm not going to go too long with that. All right, so for today's class, we're going to be looking at adverbs of frequency. Now, what is adverbs of frequency? Did you know? Okay, so an adverb of frequency describes how often an action happens. Okay, so there are 6 main adverbs of frequency that we use in English. We have always, usually, or normally, often, sometimes, rarely, and never. So these are the adverbs of frequency. So it describes how often an action happens. So for example here, I always go to the supermarket every weekend. I usually do my laundry on weekends. I often go out eat with my family. I sometimes cook at home. I rarely go to gym. And I never go swimming. Okay? So these are the adverbs of frequency. It describes how often an action happens. Okay? So you can give me some examples of adverbs of frequency? Right. So this will be part of your classwork later on to give some examples of adverbs of frequency. You've already done this before, and of course you're going to say, teacher, we already did. Why do it again? We have to review ourselves because, again, as I reminded you earlier, you're having your final exam later on soon, okay? So this is important to go through the vocabulary checklist, the grammar checklist, okay? So it's important. Now, let's have a look at the differ in the level of frequency chart. So here I have a little bit for you of how we use the frequency chart. So with using always, it's 100%. It means some things you always do. So for example, I always wake up at 7 a.m. every morning. Then we have usually that goes down by 80%, often goes down by 70%, sometimes goes down by 50%, rarely goes down by 20%, and never goes down by 0%, mean that you've never done it before. So sometimes it's in between the 50%. Okay, so then of course you can use it with subject as well, with I, you, we, he, she, it. Then we have get, go, and meet. So these are the sample of the differ in the level, right? So for example, I always get up at 7 a.m. in the morning. I usually drive my bike to work at 12:30 p.m. So usually it could be sometimes maybe 12:30, it could be 12:40, so usually, but it's following the frequency. Okay, so often you use it with you. You often goes to work at 8 a.m. So sometimes you go at 8, sometimes you go at 7:30, so often. Okay, you sometimes is used with 50%, so 50-50. You will go to the park. Will you be going to the park at 5 p.m. this evening? So sometimes you're going to the park at 5 p.m., but it could be sometimes 5, sometimes not. Very rare. We rarely meet at this place, okay? So it's the first time that you come here to this place, so it's very rare. Rarely meet at this place. We never meet in this restaurant before, okay? So that means we never come to see each other in this restaurant before, 0. So it's easier to use it with get, go, and meet. I, you, we, okay? As a subject, it's easy, and then we use it the frequency, the level of frequency with 100, 80, 70, 50, 20, and 0%. All right, does that make sense? Okay, good. Right, so these will become like some exercises for you to be done later in your class or in your homework to write about your daily routine using the level of frequency. Okay? Right, if you have any more questions, please do not hesitate to contact me, to ask me at any time. All right? Okay, well, it looks like the end of our class now, and thank you everyone for participating in our online learning program. Please don't forget to do your homework and classwork, then send it to me via personal telegram once done. Goodbye all, and have a great day ahead. Bye bye. Goodbye.